Hey guys, it's Will here, welcome back to the channel. Tonight I want to talk a bit about the Psychic Awakening. So this is the new thing that GW have been talking about a bit. They've been kind of teasing us with, oh, what's it going to be, what's it going to be? And it's still not entirely all there yet, but it does seem to be coming to fruition now. Now, I, like a lot of people, when I first saw this, thought this was going to basically be endless spells for Warhammer 40K. So endless spells are a really cool mechanic in Age of Sigmar where there's magical effects that rather than just happening, you roll the dice to resolve it, actually brings a model onto the table that then stays in play until it is got rid of. And yeah, has various effects on the game, and it's quite a fun little thing in Age of Sigmar. It's not overly powerful, but it's a really fun thing, and it's a way for GW to sell some really cool looking, very different models. So I thought it might be that sort of thing for 40k, but it turns out this seems to be something far bigger. This isn't just going to be like a book and some models, here you go, cast these, you know, psychic powers that stay on the board. This is going to be much bigger than that. It almost seems to be a whole story arc, you know, a direction they are taking the lore. It's really nice to see with 8th edition that 40k now really has this more sort of living, dynamic, progressive universe rather than being stuck at the year 999 of the 41st millennium. It's now, you know, moving on a bit, time is progressing, and that's really cool. As you know, the lore expands, and this seems to be a direction they're going in. So they're sort of talking about, with the Cicatrix Maledictum, the Great Rift opening up, there's been an increase in psychic phenomenon, and it's affecting a lot of different races. In fact, it's affecting all the factions in the game. They've said every army is going to get something from this. So that's really cool for a start, and something they couldn't have really achieved with just a kind of an endless spells type mechanic, because certain factions just do not have any justification for using psychic powers, like the Tau, the Sisters of Silence, the Necrons. So, you know, that's all cool. But yeah, the idea is that psychic powers are becoming even more prevalent. Psychic phenomena and strange things like that are just having a wide variety of effects throughout the galaxy. And so this story arc seems to be, from what we're getting from GW, going to lead to obviously some new fiction. So we've got some, probably to start off with, it'll be short stories in the same way as they've done in the past with what was that called for Age of Sigmar, where they did something similar to this, Malign Portents. So they've been like daily or weekly stories about the effects that are going on, and there's a lot of parallels between this and Malign Portents. But they've also promised us new models in the article that came up yesterday on Warhammer Community. They've specifically mentioned new models, and I'll touch on that as to what some of these might be in a little bit. And I imagine, I don't know if they've said this for definite or it's just been theorised, that there'll be books of the sort of type of thing we've had with Vigilus. So not necessarily every faction's going to get something in one book. There will probably be a number of books to this, I would have thought, because this does look like a really big, ambitious, extensive project. But you'll get books where you have, you know, one arm, you know, 2 or 3 armies are going to get some sort of benefit from the events going on in this part of the galaxy, and then in another part of the galaxy the Psychic Awakening is affecting these armies that are fighting each other differently. So you know, we might see maybe 3, 4, 5 books, who knows. We'll just have to watch this space. Now they've got a website up to deal with it, and it features a living map, they're calling it, which is basically, at the moment, a map of the galaxy as it is, with the Cicatrix Maledictum running through the middle, and very little marked on it, but clearly they're planning to update that as the thing goes on with the various plans they've got, various things that are going on with this Psychic Awakening. There's a nice sort of teaser video that's told from the point of view of an Imperial Inquisitor. If you haven't seen it yet, it's the trailer they ran a few weeks ago, but it's up on the Psychic Awakening website now, so go and check that out. If nothing else, just the voice narration sounds really cool. I don't know who this woman they've got doing them is, but you know, if you know anyone wants to narrate my life, she is quite welcome to do it. She has a great voice for that sort of thing, almost like, imagine something like Morgan Freeman, but doesn't sound like Morgan Freeman, but that level of awesomeness, but in an English woman as opposed to an American guy. It's just a really nice voice, you know. I think she's done some audiobooks for Games Workshop as well. I recognise the voice from somewhere. But anyway, I digress. They've mentioned on this website they're going to have teasers for new models, they're going to have articles, they're going to have videos, and this map is going to update. Now, all of that is to come, and they have promised us the first update is going to be very soon, so that's this Monday, the 9th of September 2019, is going to be the first time they're going to give us some more info on this. So that's exciting, you know, we're basically 2 days out from finding out more. Now, I just hope that they're not going to do with this what they did with the Nova previews, and yeah, technically it's happening on Monday, but like the Nova previews, they were kind of working on Monday US time, which meant for a Monday evening US time at that, which meant for those of us in the UK, that meant we'd already gone to bed and we had to wait for the next day. So I was a little bit annoyed about that, you know. Come on, GW, you're a British company, you know, give us the things at least in a time we're awake. But hey, you know, they'll do what they do. I digress. Anyway, so the first sort of event, for want of a better word, that's come up on this is called the Phoenix Rising, and there's a little symbol, I think it's like the Eldar symbol that's used to represent Farseers and Warlocks, like the rune of the Seer, that's cropped up on the map down near the eastern fringe, so it's quite close to Macragge. I don't think it's actually in Ultramar, although those details aren't actually marked on the map, so you know, you've got something going on in the galactic southeast, which has been where a lot of the action has been focused on throughout the years in 40k. You know, it's where the Tau Empire are, it's where Macragge is, it's where a couple of the major Tyranid hive fleets have attacked, obviously Behemoth going straight for Macragge, and Kraken hitting, among other targets, Sotha, which is relatively close. So yeah, certainly something cool going on down there, but they're talking about some kind of internecine conflict, so essentially an Eldar civil war. And they're talking about the Eldar as 4 distinct factions: the Eldari, that's the Asherani, which is the Craftworld Eldar, the Drukhari, which are the Dark Eldar, the Harlequins, and the Ynnari. And it seems to be that there is some clash between these different forces. Now, there's been no details on that, but it's called the Phoenix Rises, or the Phoenix Rising, something like that. My handwriting is so bad that on my notes I can't actually see whether that says Rises or Rising. So, Phoenix, well, the most obvious thing, this is, you know, we're into the realm of theory now. I've given you the facts now for my thoughts on what it might be. So the most obvious thing this Phoenix could relate to is one or more of the Eldar Phoenix Lords. So these have been really kind of central characters to the Eldar lore over the years, particularly with the Aspect Warriors. So as a Biltan player who owns 3 Phoenix Lords, this could be potentially really exciting. And that seems the most obvious, you know, this is somehow going to relate to one of the Phoenix Lords, maybe him trying to reconcile the various Eldar factions into one larger force. I say he, there is at least one of the Phoenix Lords who is a she, and it could well involve Jane Zar, because we already know we're getting new Howling Banshee plastic models. They've been previewed at, I think it was at Nova they previewed them, so we know we're getting plastic Howling Banshees. So could we be getting a plastic Jane Zar as well? Could Jane Zar be the Phoenix that's rising? But the Phoenix could relate to something more cryptic. You know, the Eldar have never been the most straightforward of races, so it could relate to Inyad, the Eldar god of the dead. You know, this whole sort of idea of death and rebirth with the Phoenix ties in quite nicely with Inyad, and, you know, maybe the Ynnari getting something different, because this edition for Ynnari has basically been, they've been OP for a really long time, and then they got nerfed to the ground, and so I think now they need something that's kind of a midpoint where they're still good but not the broken craziness we had before. How that will work out remains to be seen. So it could relate to Inyad, and obviously the the awakening of Iliad was already a kind of a central theme in the what were they called, the Galaxy in Flames series, where you know, that led to the opening of the Cicadrix Maledictum and led us into 8th edition, so that could certainly be a thing. There's a couple more sort of more spurious theories I could have. Maybe the Phoenix relates to the Eldar race as a whole. It's a metaphor for the Eldar race that has been teetering on the brink of destruction for millennia, maybe regaining a lot of its former strength. That would kind of tie into Iliad, and the idea of the Phoenix Lords as well could all be tied up with that. But there's one more theory, and this is totally out there, just throwing this out there. I'm probably wrong, but if this does turn out to be what it is, I called it. Fulgrim. Fulgrim was known as the Phoenician. You know, his the symbol of his legion was this big eagle wing, but you know, most birds' wings look kind of the same. It could easily represent a phoenix as well. Phoenix could mean something to do with Fulgrim. Now, what on earth would Fulgrim have to do with the Eldar? Well, Fulgrim is the demon primarch of the Emperor's Children, who were the legion that fell to Slaanesh. And who accidentally created Slaanesh? The Eldar. Fulgrim has been talked about as a primarch we might be getting for a long time. There's no good reason I can say for him to not come back, and even as early as Galaxy in Flames, I think it was called, or the Galaxy Ablaze, whatever it was, the series at the end of 7th edition, he was mentioned kind of interfering with Guilliman from not that long after Guilliman was resurrected. So, you know, he could certainly turn up. I don't see any logical barriers to Fulgrim showing up, and I think a lot of people would be very keen on that. It may not be the first thing we see from this, but that Phoenix Rising could be a hint at Fulgrim. But like I say, that's probably not. I'm just putting the theory out there. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think we'll see one of the Phoenix Lords becoming more central to the story, maybe getting a plastic kit? You know, are we going to get some more Ynnari stuff here? Are we going to get plastic Fulgrim? 40k scale plastic Fulgrim would be really cool. I know a lot of Emperor's Children players who would be really pleased to see that, but that is probably not going to happen. But, you know, let me know what you think. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.